Okay. Alright, I think we're actually in business this time. Well, hey. Alright, let me close out a few tabs here. Okay. Okay, good. For a second there, I thought we were going to have a replay of last week. But no, everything's fine. Hello. How is everybody today? I'm going to take folks. Give folks a little bit of time to shuffle on in here. What's going on? What's going on is that we're probably looking at Blender files mostly. Maybe a little Q&A. I don't know. Happy last day of July. Happy last day of July to you as well. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and open this up just a smooch. Okay, this is very annoying. Why? Okay, you are much more quiet than on other streams. Okay, cool. Why is there an icon in the way? Okay. Alright, let's screw with that a little bit there. Let's look at you, see if this is fine. Okay. Oops, that shouldn't be on. That's more like it. Alright. Alright. Oh, jeez. You were so weird. Why do they keep hiding? Why do they keep hiding the everything from me? Okay. Keep hiding the tech controls in my computer. They change locations. And why is there an icon that is in the way of the chat? Was that always there? I need to be able to read the words. What is the big idea? Pooh. Oh well. Don't know how to fix it, we're just gonna fly by the seat of our pants. Any whoosies. Alright, so... Happy to see you there, Beta Graph. See, when I put my mouse over it, it lets me kind of see the text. I'm curious to know what the name of the contraption is on the screen. I have been called it the Apparatus. That's its name in Blender. And that has been one of the fun, like, testing 1, 2, 3s from the previous episode. I was gonna go through all of the new stuff that I tried in the previous episode with varying levels of success. And one of the things that I was screwing around with, that I have screwed around with a little bit in previous episode, is just how much farting around I can do with parenting. So yeah, there was a lot of that going on. It is the thingy in Huey's barn. I thought it would work really well for a certain experiment that I just couldn't 100% do what I wanted with, but maybe if I take a second crack at it, I'll be able to do it next time. Do you have a Patreon? I do. And I guess I'll link to that later. The Patreon should be linked in every episode. What does it do exactly, and why did he build it? It holds things and spins around. Why did he build it? Huey does things because they're fun. Okay. Alright, and I will describe so it's a rack for art supplies, among other things. I need to spin around it and think it'd fix me. I don't know, it'd do something. I don't associate much things that Huey does with fixing all that much. If I had the skill to build something like that, I would build something like that. I know. It'd be fun. I would personally love to attempt like one of those spinny fire spinning doodads version of this that it had. Actually had that in the winter episode. Those are cool and I want to make one. Okay. Well, I guess I can just kind of start going through it slow and casual like. So, each of these little doodads here that I'm clicking on that turn into an orange outline are in fact grease pencil objects. There are no actual 3D objects, and as far as no modeling, it's all just like grease pencil strokes that are made to be looked at flat on for the most part. There's a little dimension to them because each stroke is always like a tube, in essence, of whatever pressure you have it on. That creates the thickness in your pen. Anyway, so what I ended up doing to create my apparatus here is every object is parented to a previous object. Do I have this? Is it? I think I might have like all of the these two main arms here are parented to this center pole, and when I move them the whole thing moves. But if I move one, this doesn't move with it, but everything parented to this moves with this. So we can have stuff like if we rotate, it's gonna all stick together. I did this instead of trying to rig. I don't know if you can achieve the sort of like rigid, free spinning, whatever effect that I'd want to do if I rigged it. I don't know if you can rig a grease pencil object. I bet you can. Heck if I know. But anyway, these are all separate objects that I would animate, and everything that's sticking to everything else should animate with it. The important thing is to make sure that everything is stuck together and you know exactly what you're going to do with it before you start animating. Because doing it afterward is finicky, which I did end up having to kind of fudge with certain things in the episode. Oh crap, I needed to animate that after I had parented this and this together, and that created a little bit of silliness, but for the most part it kind of just did what I wanted. Now, I bet you're wondering, why are all these upside down? Okay, that's a bunch of silliness also. So, when you're looking straight on, these are the exact size and shape as they would be in a 3D space. If you turn them sideways, they look like paper. No! Anyway. They look like paper if you turn them sideways because they're 2D objects, kind of. So, one of the things that I did successfully do in another episode way back, I think it was the infiltration of the asylum episode. I did actually show this particular piece of animation off where the camera always stays center on flat on an object, and that object always looks like its correct dimensions, which I was going to do in a greater capacity, but it didn't quite do it the way I wanted to the first time, and I was just going to have to think about it. But I did partly do it part way, so here's what I am going to do. I am going to... not the right button. You bugger. Add a camera. Where are you? Where are you, camera? Alright, I added a camera. 3. I'm gonna put her here. And let's look through it. Okay, we got the camera. Alright, I should probably pull that back a little further. Why in the heck? Oh, that's weird. Huh. Don't know why that's doing that. Let's just do it that way. Whatever. Anywhoosies, I got a camera in the scene now. And, one of the things I did to make sure that everything always looked its correct face was I put something, a modifier on. It's not a modifier, it's a constraint. Where are you? There you are, constraint. I put a constraint on. Let's put it on the big one, where it was always tracking to the camera. Now all of a sudden this is facing the right direction. Okay, originally I had all of these facing down. I had all these facing down. Okay, let's see if I can. There's a new way to... Do I already have a camera in the scene? I guess I do. Oops. There is a way to copy constraints, I'm sure, in the, it was an easy way to do it in 4.1, but I only just got 4.1 for Blender. Okay, yeah, alright, that's my original problem because I already have a camera. I'm getting rid of you because I just made my new one. There we go. We're getting blue lines. And as I add constraints, track 2, camera. They are flipping right side down, and this is a funny thing that happened because I was flying by the seat of my pants was I doing this. Because of course I was. Because I was doing a what if I did this sort of scenario and I didn't look up carefully to see if it already existed and someone had already done it. I was just building off of an experiment I did last, like, 3 or 4 episodes ago. Okay, so now we have this weird scenario. Now that all of these are facing down. So what happens when I turn, I'm going to turn the main pole. They're all always facing the camera. And that's what I wanted, for them to flat on the camera. Now originally I was going to, after I had done that, hand animate these. I have done that before. But I ran into a lot of botheration because when I added the constraint, there's something, it's probably something to do with the axis that this, which is origin, is on, and it had to be oriented correctly. And there's probably a way to fudge with these here variables, the track's axis and what's facing up, to make it so that I could have had it as is, default all facing, I don't know, plus y axis, and it would have been fine. But I needed to know those numbers from the get-go. So really what happened afterward, we got a stray at 1. Track 2. Object. Wee. Yeah. Look at that. They're always facing down too. Anyway, which is fine because this only moves like this. This particular thing only moves just in a circle, so that's how I can get away with this. It is a really neat effect when you just hand animate it and do the turn. I've done it before. And I'm like, hey, cool, I did it before, I'll do it again. Except there was, I guess I lucked out the very first time I did it, and origin was exactly what I needed it to be. And I wasn't entirely sure what the deal was, where origin was wrong. Bleh. Because whenever I would track to the camera, these would turn upside down, like I just had them. You saw they were all upside down. So I'm like, I just kind of hand turned the grease pencils as an edit, so they would all be facing the right way. I'm like, okay, I don't know how to, I have to actually animate these before tracking them to the camera, or else it would look weird, because there's still a little bit of weirdness, offness that gets on. You want to be animating flat when you're doing this, and there is a little bit of fudging that happens where it kinda starts to not look flat on, and that can really throw you off if you're hand animating just freehand. So that's what happened there. So they didn't get hand animated the way I wanted to, but I'll take another crack at it later if I come back to this apparatus. Anyway, so that's one of the big things. Let me look back at chat. Oh, thank you, No Name Household. I went way back, because I had to look at the 2 different screens here. What did I miss? I was out dealing with leads. Just Blender. Camera silliness. Yeah, it's really me. Just I really need to really know the numbers if I'm going to be wacky like this. And I've started to figure out the numbers, but sometimes numbers are just in funny places and I don't see them and they're affecting things. And I'm like, why? And I have to go digging for numbers. I was like, oh, that was at 45% turn for some reason. Yeah, okay, cool. Alright, so that was the first experiment for this episode. Just because it was... the big idea was to go all out with parenting and tracking. To see just what I can get away with by parenting. Because parenting is gonna probably become my new best friend. Not just for wackiness like, ooh, 360 spins, wee. But for the fact that different grease pencil objects are gonna replace what was called instances in Flash for me, or different Swift files that I would compile in After Effects for me, because since I'm no longer working on Flash, those are two things that I relied upon, being able to compile together Swift files in After Effects with transparency. That was nice to be able to do, but I can't do that in Blender because Blender doesn't render Swift files. That would be silly. Watch them do it. Anyway. So I needed to be able to separate stuff out and be able to edit them. So I have to make them into 3D objects. That's going to replace my instances. Making them into 3D objects and parent them together with the things that need to move together. So like, you gotta get real good at that. Gotta get good at that because you can drop things and lose them so easy. It is bonkers. Yeah, I do. I am aware of Blender can render PNG sequences. I hate dealing with PNG sequences. This is literally the reason I don't like dealing with PNG sequences. Because things go awry. It was like, oh, there's more things that I will drop. I've had a tough time with them in the past, so I'm like, well, this is in essence the same as dealing with an instance, and I'm like, boop, I'll connect them together, they'll just stick to one another, and they make a nice, tidy little drop-down tree here when they're parented, all in the same little folder. This is the parenting. Look at my labeling convention poll. They're like, okay, everything's neat, everything's tidy, I don't have to fart around with folders on my computer, and everything's in the same spot. What hey. And on top of that, this is just a reusable asset now. It's in its own entire program. I probably will dedicate a program to just building the reusable assets. Like, this'll probably get imported in again. That was a fun new thing to discover how to do. Append things and then append changes to things that I made into another program. That was fun. And by fun, I mean that didn't do what I wanted it to do. Again, I can't just relabel something, import it in, relabel it, and replace instance like I can in Flash. I'm sure there's probably some kind of a way to do that where you go right-click, replace instance. In Grease Pencil, And that's kind of what I did. It's just that I can't handle it nice and tidy over in the drop down like I would like. I have to handle it over here somewhere. I don't remember exactly how I did it the first time. I will have to look it up. I think I favorited it. Blender won't corrupt an entire PNG. Yeah, Blender's like little rendering wackiness is probably not as annoying as it was in Flash. CS3. But it was like, it was just, the thought of it is just kind of, I don't want to deal with that. More files. I want everything in a tidy order. Like, half of this is decided by whether or not I don't want to lose something. Alright, so let's open up another one, shall we? Okay, and let's actually make this look like what it's supposed to look like. Cool. Alright. Well, let's look at this while that's changing over. Do the cast, other than Kitty and Icky, know about Tezcatlipoca spirits, Koyo Shakti, and Tepeolotl? Everybody kind of already knows about them. They would have just received that information from Mama or one of the 3 monkeys who just know that stuff because I know my history. Who got to the Atticus Finch character first that Icky was meant to be? Nobody. That was me going, oh, is somebody doing what I was gonna do? And that wasn't real, and I might actually come back to it, and I'm not going to elaborate on that because it's embarrassing. Anyway. Should get only annoyed when she encounters people who don't understand sign language and must write notes to communicate. A little bit. I bet you everybody does what is in her position. It's like, I have to do things the long and tedious way. Blarg. Alright. There we go. First time joining live. Welcome! Welcome to you. Here, another example of parenting. Let's look at this. Where's this part? Giant file. Giant everything is so separate. Parenting was also how I ended up handling Schutzketzel's butterfly swarm. The butterflies are parented to an empty. This cross-looking thing is an empty. It doesn't show up on screen, and it doesn't have to be an empty. You could just you could make a 3D object and parent it and just make it non-renderable, you know, if you needed guides or something. But they're all parented to an empty. They have individual movement that can be separately animated, but they can stay together in a swarm because of the empty. It was a bugger to do that, without doing it this way. First time catching you live myself, I think. Sadly, I can't stay as I have to take truck down to the mechanic. Good luck with your truck. I hope it's not broken. Any whoosies. Or doesn't stay broken long. Sorry, you just kind of started now. We're talking about parenting and childing in Blender or 3D programs. They're all called like this, where you attach different 3D objects to like a parent object. In this case, the parent object is this cross here, and the butterflies are the child objects. Yeah, any whoosies. And of course the apparatus. Oop. Which is parented to camera, and since the camera is about to make some weird moves, we got some weird bendy looking lines because of where the camera is located. They're all tilted up. All of your words are going over my head. Oh no! Do you ever get frustrated with the fact that telling your story through animations is inherently slow? Yeah, kinda. Well, sometimes you just kind of go, oh, well, this is the downside of the preferred method. It's going to be frustrating. Whatever medium is going to have a level of frustration. Like if I was writing, I'm like, I don't want to make words to do this. It would just like, well, I wish you could just look at it. Look at it yourself. Which is I went with the look at it option. Many of the earlier new episodes were music videos. Do you have any plans to do any more music-only videos? If you so, which songs do you have in mind? I have a handful of songs. I'm like, oh, I want to animate to that. I have no place for it. Which is like, well, I'm going to put you in the maybe you will be good for later drawer. And I'll flip through that drawer every now and again when I feel like, oh, this deserves some music video. It's just gotta be. And hopefully I'll find one that meets up. Just wait till we all get brain chips and create art with thoughts alone. But my hands, though, they'll get so bored. Anyway. In another timeline, the look at it option becoming a stage play. This is true. Or wall art. Question, have you ever drawn the No Evil crew in modern clothing? In a stream? On a stream. That has happened. Which is to say, they were drawn in what looked like early 2000s clothing, to be quite frank. I'm like, oh, well, I don't know, it's considered modern. Gonna slink out and make some foods. Well, you go do that. Eating is important, as is drinking water. Okay. Woohoo. Alright. Discorn had to learn his medicine man stuff like the Richards. If so, who taught him? He would have been taught by the Three Monkeys and Mama Spider. And Kitty a little bit. Okie dokie. Let's look at another thing in here. Alright, well, the name of the game was Parenting, but the name of the game was also Light Sources. Let's go to render mode. See, this is render mode. This is non-render mode. Render mode. Non-render mode. Let's look at it through the camera. Okay, there we go. Non-render mode. Render mode. Non-render. Render. I added a light, which is something that I wanted to learn how to do because I can't. It was like previously when I did lighting with Flash. You either hand animate the light, which I still do for highlights and shadows, but you also blah 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 blah. What I'd also do was tint and change saturation with an effect in After Effects on each individual layer that was imported into After Effects that were different Swifts. And then I would do a mask that I could create with feathering to kind of create a highlighted or gradient effect afterward. I didn't do it all that often. Alright. Okay, is this one a little more? Yeah, that looks a lot different. At least the brightness looks different. So I was trying to achieve kind of the same thing, which creates a light gradient. This particular section created a light gradient, and I didn't want to go ham because I was just kind of figuring out how lights work. So I could have separate and different lighting for different areas for different times a day without it having to literally hand do it by coloring it different and masking it, because that wasn't going to work very nicely, because a lot of these things are in 3D space. The masking isn't just like over the entire section. Is this one? Yeah. You'll notice if I go off of render mode, everything gets slightly darker. That's because there's a light right in front lighting up the object most in front and a little bit behind it. I think it might be a little more drastic in another Blender file, which I do have to separate into different Blender files. Oh yeah, that's a lot more drastic. Okay. Get back here. Alright. A lot of different... Okay, non-rendered, rendered, non-rendered, rendered. This particular angle was a little bit weird and finicky with the light source. Look how dark it is. And then it's the light. And that's because of the... Probably because of the nature of this one being a transition. Non-rendered. Rendered. Non-rendered. Rendered! Okay. And that is affected by farting around in the world. If the value of the world is high enough, it's barely noticeable, which is kind of what I wanted. When you turn it down, the light source becomes incredibly obvious. because only the stuff in the light source shows up. I can make it. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Uh-oh. Okay, undo. Let's turn off keyframes, shall we? There we go. These are mostly animated. And the color of the world affects what color the lights are. If you look over here and watch me drag the thing over, the color of the world changes to pink, which affects the lighting. That's the weird sound in the stream, like who going, oh yeah, I've got scrubbing turned on in this episode so you can hear the sound from the episode. Yeah, that's what that is, sorry. I didn't even think about it. Well, shoot dang. Hey, first time I made a stream, this might be stupid. It ain't. But I want to tell you about your animation helping lots are near death at the hospital. Well, I am glad I contributed to helping. Very glad indeed. Song from Alice in Wonderland has been a wonderful distraction from the pain. I love that song. Well, thank you for letting me know, Lafo. I hope I said that right. It's nice to know when it's contributing to something. Okay. Let's go back. All right. Yeah, the second file had other objects in it, which affected the lighting. Okay. I guess there was one more weird little thing that was a fun little oh dear. Don't crash! Don't crash! Everybody clap. Okay. It didn't crash. Well, hey. Whee! There was one final little bit of weirdness. That was a fun thing to do, and that was this silliness, which was just a it was just kind of fun to make this like Lisa Frank looking candy pathway, which was I think, where are you? Yeah, two levels of glitter and 2 levels of rocks that just changed opacity over one another, and that was fun and pretty. Let me see. This transition was a bugger. Oh yeah. Also, these were fun to make. All they were was I converted that you could do that. You can do this thing where you can select every other point. Edit mode. Am I in the right one? I don't think I am. These all should have been separate objects, but I didn't do that. Where are you? Oh, it's actually called Lollipop. Wee-hee. There's this fun thing where you can, alright. Ah! Select all. Okay. Alright. You can select alternated. Each one you can select as alternated. I don't know why you'd need that, but I select alternated and then change the colors on them, and this is a polka dot brush, and it made a little polka dot thing, which is fun and dumb, and I'm like, what other instance would I be using this? Never. I would never use this any other place. I might as well do it. Wee. So that's silly. It's some of the applications for the functionality in this program. I don't know what the point of that is, but this is what I'm using it for. Lollipops. My blender just crashed. It does that. I usually don't get the newest one until it has been absolutely been out for a while. Personally, because I'm not very good at being able to sort around, okay, why is this not working? People who have coding ability help me. Okay. Let's zoom back up the chat a little bit. Which non-spirit character is your favorite? It's tough to pick a favorite. It really is. I mean, as per usual, my answer is Charles is the most fun. It really depends on what mood you're in. I thought clapping was for fairies, not YouTube streams. Maybe they have affected the Ethernet. You don't know. Sherbert Road. Not wrong. I love your work. How did you come up with your design for making? Thank you for the I love you bit. A lot of Michelin just straight up is references to existing things that are fun, like weird fairy worlds. Some of them just made with a certain degree of logic. There's like literature logic, not necessarily scientific logic. Although there is a little bit of literaturizing science in there. Mostly, a lot of the weirdness that comes up with Michelin is just like, what would it take for these two things to exist in the same spot? And then you do that. Did the corn learn any of his magic from someone, or is it instinct? There is a learning that happens, but there are certain talents that people are more geared towards, spirits are more geared toward, if that answers anything. He did have to be taught certain rituals. There's only so much you can do flying by the seat of your pants. Corn does. How do all of Michelin interact between the doll's diner and the desert? That's, and Forrest and the candy doesn't seem to be correlation. There's a correlation. I haven't name dropped that correlation yet. So, lol, spoilers. Hello, Lee. Would you smile if I said I first went to work on 2Ds 9 years ago when I was 8? I don't know. Cool? I don't know what that is. 2DS. What the heck is a 2DS? I'm like tech dumb. Anyway. Okay, I'm going to skip down to the question. Have you considered going mainstream with no evil? How does one go mainstream with no evil? Would mind working on another indie project as an assistant? Sure. I mean, I'd help folks out if I would definitely help Wooly out, and if he asked. I don't know how you just go mainstream with anything. Does that mean, like, pitch it to somebody? Because I wouldn't. I would not pitch to probably anybody. What's the story behind the blimp that young Ichabod found? Spoilers! Literally wrote that bit into a future thing this morning. Like, actually laid out the proper outline for that. For something. I mean, I already knew where it was, but, like, it's been worked into the armature proper now. So that's armature of the story properly now. Let's not skip words. If you had to give the main spirits D&D classes, what would they be? I don't know. I don't know. There's some folks that have actually done that before, and they know what they're doing more than I do. I haven't played since 3.5. Well, I might have played 5 once, but the one I'm familiar is 3.5, and that's with people doing heckin' mods. So I don't know where the real stuff ends and the mods begin. No. I've lost the chat. It keeps going back down and I don't want it to. Does Mictletequitl reside in No Evil's Mictlan? Why did I make the chat so far away? Kinda, sorta. Again, some things I'm like, it might be spoiler territory. So does that mean Icky knew some bad omens off the bat? No! Those are things he would have had to learn. He wouldn't have known them. But they are attracted to him, if that makes any sense. He draws them in. You'd have to learn them. Okay. Do different regions have different magic? Yeah. Kinda. Yeah, yeah, definitely. How do Charles and Emmerich know how to navigate Mictlin? Is it purely intuitive, or are there certain rules to Mictlin warping? There's some kind of rules that they can't navigate around necessarily. You have to be able to, oddly enough, you have to be pretty able to think on your feet to navigate Mictlin. And Amrock does know how to do that. And he would have taught Charles who is a special little delinquent. Okay. Will you make a comic book about the No Evil story? I really enjoyed the original one. I want to. I have 2 ideas and so little time. I was like, I honestly have been chipping out. I have honestly been chipping away at one of those ones on the side as I go. It's not very far along because the animation is taking priority. It does take priority because it's the meat and potatoes of the story, and the comic books are supposed to be kinda ancillary. Comic books, she says, only one truly exists, and all of them little extra comics that I did on my DA. I've been watching your work for years and loved it all. I've actually run a No Evil themed D&D campaign. Ooh, woo. Ask that person then. Rourke Rayner. Prepare to be asked D&D questions. Icky do be somewhat paranoid even when he's right about something. Yeah. I love the way Hui and Calamity drag poor Icky into their shenanigans. It's fun to write. It's very fun. Twisting of that particular thing, of that particular dynamic, was also fun to write. It's gonna be fun. Who taught Corn his rituals then? Who did the practical part of the learning magic? That, again, would be Mama Spider, the 3 monkeys, little bit of Kitty. Wasn't there a comic used to be on the Google store? It should still be on the Google store and on the Lulu. I might put it up as a double thing with another Patreon thing just so I could put it up for the Patreon people. I'm not sure. I feel like, yeah, I might as well. It's that most of them are paying about as much as for that comic, so I should probably put it there too. Gotta take a look at the PDF file for that one. We'll catch up with Charles once the temple is finished. Fire and brimstone? No. Hopefully. No. Probably not. Spoilers. Eh. Hey, Betsy, been rewatching and recommending your channel and series to everyone else for like 10 years? No, my son was raised on it. Really? Why? He's 9 now. Why? Made my fan character neat. I love OCs. They're so fun. Are we gonna get more blooper videos? Oh! there are schedule issues. You put the nail on the head there. First of all, a lot of it is confusing because I was a lot of it was like, oh, I can't do it yet because so much of this entire recording session is a bunch of scripts at once that were like, well, this is fun, but it contains spoilers for things that aren't out yet. And that was the initial, can't do this yet. But that's probably not a thing anymore, and I could do another outtakes video. Which, I don't know. Might make that the next one. Might make the one after that. We'll see. I miss the puppets. I honestly worry about Corn and his new fractured personality. Will he ever be okay? Spoilers! Don't you want to watch it happen? Whatever it might be. I promise I'm going to keep going for a while now. I made it to the bottom. Kind of. Okay. Want to make a No Evil cosplay? I'm considering Calamity. That one seems like it would be one of the more difficult ones. Really. I was like, oh, I'm definitely not one of those creators. I was like, yeah, this would be great for cosplay. Did not think that far ahead. Got to go, saw you were doing it live and just wanted to pop in real quick to show support. Listen to you really got something worth. Seriously, I love the way your mind works. Thank you! At least someone does. Okay. You enjoy the rest of your day. I wanted to ask about Angel, but I feel like you're going to spawn with spoilers. Probably. A lot of her stuff hasn't been anywhere near done yet. Will we ever see Kitty just snapping and go full rage mode? Maybe. I'm taking voice acting classes on Blue Box. I'm not that I'm looking for recognition, but if you need more host series, let me know. I do like audition calls on well, I guess technically kind of in the comment section, comment like news section here on YouTube, because I will link to the 2 places where I would accept voice stuff, which will for auditions, when I do auditions, is on Newgrounds and DeviantArt, because those places have messaging. Do you remember when YouTube had message system? Because I do. That would have made things so nice. Anyway, and I guess on Twitter too. I think Twitter's done being kind of a bugger, so I'll probably do it on then unless it goes derp again. We'll see. But that's how that's done. You will see like an announcement on all of my social media spaces that I actually use, and I go, I'm looking for voices. And then you will from there you can do demos or what have you. Small lady says hi, and a he-hi, he-hi, he-hi. He-hi back to you too, I guess. Ooh, the premise for the D&D campaign. 8 people with no memory fell from the stars, each with the ability to wild shape. Along the way, they find magic items lost to time, but 4 players have to share. Interesting. I don't know I guess wild shape is exactly probably what it says on the tin. Is Kitty's hoodoo something that requires innate magical talent? Bit, yeah. Mom's spider's threads is a little on the special side. I will give you that. What modern food would Hui get way too into? Probably gummy worms of all variety. I don't know. Maybe them discontinued sugar packets that came with the sucker stick that had no taste. Yeah. Was Charles a bratty trickster from birth, or did something during his upbringing make him the way he is? Well, like, there's a certain degree of personality you already have, and a certain degree that is reinforced by the stuff that happened in your life, so... both? Have you thought about using Blue Sky instead of Twitter because of how better monitoring? I've thought about just sticking with DA, Newgrounds, and Tumblr, because I already kind of am settled there. In those places, kind of, sort of. I could barely make myself make, like, accounts on any new platform because it was so annoying for them to appear and then maybe disappear, and then you have to get a read on how this one works, and just like I have like 4. That's good enough. I will make another one only if it has had some kind of staying power. And I mean some kind of staying power. Because social media background. I'm too picky. I just am. Can humans use... I'm going to assume that means magic? Or just Charles? Spoilers. Anyway. Well, can you need to use the glorified wood stove poker? More spoilers. You know, it's kind of fun to be able to give the same answer to so many questions. What happens if all the stars that miss Mama Spider's thread? They make a crater. Or they burn up in the atmosphere. Actually, they probably burn up before hitting the thread, because the thread's going to be pretty close to the ground, actually. So, yeah, mostly small craters. Like a regular meteorite. You should just put a Q&A box in the description that just says spoilers for the answer. Immaculate. I wish I knew how to do that. How did you learn to draw? Just did it. Oh, okay. That's incredibly reductive. Like, it starts with, you look at things, you want them to be, well, you look at other people drawing things, and they go, ah, look at how well that I have made this thing look real on my piece of paper. And you go, ah, I want to do that, and then you try over and over and over again. And then later on, you get more instruction from those other humans that were better in it than you, where they do stuff like breaking down tips and tricks to find the basic shape and then fill in details around it, or perspective, or what have you. But most of it is just like looking at stuff and trying it. Trying to do it. See what happens. A lot of art is experiment. What is Paula's bison's name? Is it Maple Bar? It's not. Wonder what that could be. I've had canon that Charles was living in McLean away from humans and being raised by a sullen guy like Emma made him very bad at learning empathy. Charles was spoiled in certain ways. I'm not going to go into it for any further than that. And he plans on going mainstream with no evil. I don't have any control over that. Like, I'm not the one that makes it mainstream. The mainstream makes mainstream. I'm not going to actually pitch it to a studio, if that's what you're asking. Because, like, I've already started. I don't want to start over. Right here. Babe, the big blue ox. Ah, there it is. It's what Paula's little guy is designed after. What is the inspiration of a Canadian accent? It's just a local accent on the High Line. Local American Indian. What the spirit for a silverback girl is? Be Kong. Just inspire King Kong, sorry lol. What an interesting idea. There's actually a factoid, a rule that I have created that would make that not be able to be executed in that way. I don't know if anybody's noticed that rule. I kind of wonder if people will notice that rule. I might have said that as a rule, actively said it out loud before. I don't actually remember. I might have done. Will we ever get reference sheets for the characters? To see full image. I do actually have a reference sheet booklet. It was a PDF that I put up on my Etsy. I betcha they're all it's timed out. And I'll put it back up on my Etsy when it's timed out. And anybody on Patreon would have already gotten it in one of the Patreon updates. Which has reference sheets for kind of season 1 and 2. I'm working on a reference sheet booklet for the next season as I work on it. Something better than my sketchbook that is just full of smeared notes. I was like, well, if I had actually a nice and tidy one while I'm working, maybe I wouldn't be pulling my hair out so much. So, I've been trying to do that. Oh, so intermittent. This is spoiled too. He really comes off that way. Guys, to get some confirmation. Yeah. It's one of those instances where they're very spoiled in one way and neglected in another. And that's just a recipe for disaster. How did Amber know Charles Wheeler of Black Tesco at Pogo? Again with the spoilers. Okay, I'm not sure if this has been answered before since it's the first time I call in Streamio. Is Brother Swan cancelled or on hiatus, and why? I get confused. I am considering it done. I was like, I'm not moving any further on it, just purely because, again, with the reason behind why Swinger Sideshow Dance Club was also made done, even though it wasn't really even started, was because I can't do two at once. I just can't. Even if one is a comic book, I can't do two at once. It was like, okay, we're gonna consider it just like up in the air and donezo, and didn't seem like all that many people were really as into Brother Swan originally, so I didn't think I'd ever come back to it. Rule of it has to be American folklore. That's touching on one of the rules. I'd say that King Kong in itself would be, the actual movie would probably be considered that, but there's a little fact about that would make it not disobey a rule if I did it like played it straight. I might have to play it a little twisted. Maybe you can collab with Glitch to, like Lack is easy to make merch. I guess we could dream. Any whoosies. Collabing with this, like, somebody, even if they're just like small, to make merch would be kind of a fun thing to do, which is a thing I did look into. I was actually looking into how to get stuff, make it so that people who wanted to make their own merch could just kind of do it without necessarily having to pay me, or if they wanted to throw me a few bucks, that'd be cool, but no pressure kind of a situation, in the form of looking into Creative Commons licensing. The issue there is, while I do an awful lot of stuff by myself and have pretty much carte blanche over a lot of it, there are still things that other people have contributed to this show, and I would have to iron out like what they are cool with. Also, I was like doing it initially not thinking it would go anywhere, and I do have copyrighted stuff that is on my early pieces that would have to be sorted somehow before I can go, yeah, full Creative Commons, woot. And that's a whole thing before I can just say, yeah, just do stuff. But it's a certain degree of, yeah, just do stuff that you can do that I'm probably not going to bother bugging people about, unless it actually runs into what other people have contributed to me over. It goes like, I don't have the ability to give you permission for that one. Yeah. Anyway. I'm reading chat. Wish the new evil was mainstream enough to get people on payroll so you can work one at a time. Well, part of the more than one people being on my payroll thing, the bugger there is honestly shifting how I create the show. And I have started, like, making a move in that respect. I have actually been able to kind of sort things out so that someone else can help me with backgrounds, for example. It is an entirely different beast when you're creating something collaboratively. Because you just don't underestimate just how much being organized and being able to explain to other people what they need to do in relation to what other people will be needing from them. That is an entirely different skill that takes years to master. So part of the getting people to help thing is not necessarily my ability to pay them even as much as my ability to organize and make sure that it's actually gleaning us time. Will you be looking for some character VAs, or is the cast already lined up? I will probably do some more audition calls in future. It's a little ways off. I know things that will need voices, and I don't think I have voices for them yet. Pretty sure I don't. By the way, I don't know if I ever mentioned the comments, but thank you for subtitling No Evil. It makes going through the series over and over again at night. Yeah, the subtitles had to be a must. And they used to be nice and easy. When I could just approve the subtitles in the other languages, especially. When I could just approve them. Okay, yeah, this looks okay. Moving on. And then another person could contribute a change. Easy peasy. It was a must, not just because, well, I mean, if I'm putting sign language in, I'm inviting people who are hard of hearing or deaf. Like, yeah, you should watch the show. So I should have deaf stuff that just makes sense. Subtitling, deaf-friendly subtitling, that makes sense. Then there's just the issue of, we were really still figuring, especially at the beginning, still figuring out audio, balancing, being able to pick up voices good on a mic. Just like, once in a while, folks was mush-mouthed, didn't really notice it, because I knew what everybody was saying. And so, yeah, well, subtitles compensated for that a little. And that's just the reality of the situation. Okay. We're probably going to be winding down a little bit. This has been a particularly Q&A. You to be getting rid of community captions with one of those decisions. Yeah. Did make things a little bit difficult. Remind us, please, if you were to do a casting call, where would we hear about it or submit our auditions? I would do an announcement in the, like, news comment section that on the channel. That is, like, I don't know, 5 tabs in on the channel, which you would get a notification here for, ideally. And I would also announce it on my Newgrounds and my DeviantArt. I'd probably say something on Tumblr, but it would get lost in the shuffle. And I'd make an announcement on Twitter as well if Twitter was not blowing up, depending. I had some tech difficulties with Twitter a little while there. But those are the main ones. YouTube, DeviantArt, Newgrounds, Tumblr, Twitter. You'd probably lose it on Tumblr, because Tumblr is just like a giant bin that people just dump stuff in. It's not terribly organized, as fun as it is. Fun, quote unquote. I would not mind making Dutch subtitles for you. If you want to make subtitles, most people have been emailing me on DeviantArt. That's where I try to check weekly. I have not checked it this or last week because of shenanigans. That is to say, just life got schedule-y. And part of that was because I had to end up fixing the internet, which is why the stream went kind of goofy last time. I tried to stream last Wednesday. It didn't work because internet was secretly dying, slowly dying, and I didn't notice until I tried to ask it to do something difficult. So yeah, I will be checking DeviantArt for subtitles, which I know I'm pretty sure I have a couple that I need to do. The cloud strike. I don't think it was cloud strike, unless you mean literal, actual clouds striking things with lightning. It was actually IRL interference that was messing with my internet, and the internet guy had to come and fix that. It actually had nothing to do with software at all. We had some rough weather this summer. Any whoosies. Yeah, thunderstorms, hailstorms, windstorms. It's been kind of an eventful summer. Alright, I'm going to be closing up in a few minutes. Anybody who want to rapid fire ask questions, you should do it now. Which dress is Kitty's favorite? Probably the yellow one. I know, it's like the one I really like her in the most. His fingers coming back? Probably not. I would have to start it over. What would Kitty do if Hatfield McCoy ever enter a World War I style conflict? Yeah. Roll her eyes mostly. Anyway. Oh my god, here it is already over. It was kind of a middle of the day stream sort of situation. I'm trying to find the best times, and I've been doing a different time every time I stream, because there's folks from all over the place. The cover of Johnny Cash is made by. Thank you. That's probably the Ain't No Grave. Okay. Are there any books that you recommend that are based off? There is a compendium of American superstitions. Old stupid book from my library. I don't actually own it, but I want to own it, and I don't remember the title. But I keep checking it out whenever I want to double check and make sure that I've got everything straight. So sometimes at your library they have stuff, and maybe they have the same book. Will we see Mama Spider again? Probably. Why I was curious before, why include reference to Wizard Oz, especially the sequel, and you know, but sorry, cause I like Oz, and also this is just old America, and also I thought that if people knew that I was doing Oz, people might assume I might be doing other stuff. You know, tangential learning. Yada yada yada. Which character will most likely get the next costume change? Spoilers! Honorino is a fan of good series. There's a lot of thought I went to do. Thank you. I've been blown away by it also as everyone else I've shown. Thank you again. Please don't stop doing you. I will try not to. When will the next stream be? And also we'll see Halloween outfits next. Any crew. We're in spring right now. In the show. So maybe if I do it for funsies. Next stream, I want to do one in autumn. That's all you get. Will Core never be the same as before? Spoilers! It's the middle of the night right here. Yeah! I'll try to be quiet. Calamity ever met one of the livers she's based on, and is she like, what are you looking at? No! I bought Oz movies. They're on Disney Plus. Okay. Speaking of Oz, No Way Home's fantastic. That was Alice in Wonderland. But thank you. I'm Jake California. Has no good super stuff not popular here. If you do find the name of the book, please post it somewhere. I will do that. I have to go back to the library this week anyway. What kind of lizard is Calamity? Basilisk. Or Jesus Christ lizard. Gnome King was fabulous. Rocky the Red Slippers. What? Okay. That's the movie. The movie. It's the blue Tezcatlipoca spelled wrong. Probably one of the main casts or someone we haven't met yet. Spoilers! Thank you for doing it. It was really honest for everything. How you managed to do it all. Thank you! You could try to request to your library to buy books you're interested in. I think it's called Library Request Form. You can do interlibrary loan a lot of times, and I'll get the name of that book and I'll put it up on places like the Twitter or the Tumblr, and also maybe here as soon as oh, actually, I'll just do it as a comment on YouTube. That book I mentioned, it's this, and I'll put it as a comment, and sometime this week. Is there an official fan club I can make on Telegram for everybody? I don't know what Telegram is, other than the old-timey version. Book Gnome King wears a magic belt. Yes, he does. To the library. Okay. Alright, that wasn't bad rapid fire. So, I was like, do you have any current merch? Only the t-shirt shop right now, and also Bandcamp. So, with that, I think I am calling things to a close. And I hope to see you all later. And, yeah, the more I think about it, the more I think, yeah, I should probably do an outtakes pretty soon. My favorite food. I don't know if I have one. I really like curry and lefse. Not at the same time, necessarily. Anyway. I will see you all later. I will have that book. I will look for more subtitles. That might be my job tomorrow. And you guys have a good rest of the night.